Kyle, I'm going to go ahead and mute your line so we don't get any background noise. And if you know if you want to speak, you can just unmute and jump in and ask a question. I'm Michael Jospe. I'm the founder of Earth-Based Institute, and I'm here with Daniel Brisbane, who's one of our instructors and lead mentors for our Nature Connected coaching students. And just I wanted to just reach out to everybody because we've been having just this crazy email issue where none of our emails were getting delivered. And we've been running these free events for like a couple of months now. And I just was like, I can't believe that all these people aren't getting the free events. So we're doing a redo. And so I'm glad that you were able to get those emails and are here now. So there's a few things that I want to be able to share with you all and maintain some reconnection. And I guess another way of saying it is just kind of repair the break of connection that has happened and to start off again with reestablishing our relationship with you and what you are looking for through nature connection. And Daniel, you can jump in with this too, but when I think about this work of nature connected coaching, it's interesting because for years and years and years, I never marketed. I never did any like Facebook posts or anything. I barely even had a website. I mean, feel like I barely even have one now. But people find EBI. People find this. And there's something about this idea of nature connected coaching that I think really resonates with certain people. It touches certain people, and everybody hears it in a different way, feels it in a different way. Some people might look at it from the perspective of being a coach. Some people might look at it from the perspective of being a wilderness guide or a therapist. Some people might look at it from a perspective of being an educator, or just even their own personal connection and transformation through nature. And what is it that called you? What is it that this idea of nature connected coaching, what did that spark inside of you? What was already there for you that when you saw that, you were like, I'll go to that webinar. I'll RSVP for that. There's something about it. And if you feel comfortable to share any of that in the chat, that would be wonderful. And I'm not asking for, a life history or anything like that. Just a couple of words, perhaps, of, what sparked inside of you. And at the very least, just reflect on that for a moment for yourself. And I'll say that, I don't, and this kind of taps in a little bit into like the philosophy of EBI a little bit, is that, I don't believe that that's a mistake. That you hear something important in the world. You hear a need in the world. And you hear it in your own unique way, but there's something about that. What you're hearing has to do with helping people and nature, helping the earth and people. So I don't know what it is for you. What it was for me when that came together for me, had a lot to do with, starting to realize that as I was going through like adventure experiences in my life, I was starting to overlay those experiences with my own challenges in my life. I started to almost see how, like, as I was mountain biking or climbing a mountain or these type of things, that I was working through my own deep challenges that I was going through in my life as I was going through these challenges out, in the wilderness. And that led me into this whole world of understanding just not only the adventure education and adventure therapy side of things, but also nature connection, and really starting to try to deepen in and understand, like, what is happening in our relationship to nature. Because as you know, I mean, all you got to do is get out there for the effect, right? I mean, the science is proven over and over and over now that just being out on the land, being outside without any sort of therapeutic intervention or coaching or anything, has an effect, a physiological effect, and in turn, a mental health effect. Right? So just being out there is enough. But now, like, this idea of bringing in some transformation into that process, supporting the growth that emerges through that. So, I know it may be a lot to ask right off the bat to share something like that in the chat. If you feel comfortable doing that, go for it. If not, at the very least, just think about it. What was your call? What called you? Appreciate you sharing, and I think that, that idea of like, hey, something's happening here and other people need to know about this, right? Like, what's the doorway for other people to get into that connection to nature for themselves? And the implications behind that are pretty huge in regards to what does that mean for the decisions and the choices that we make as humans. What does that mean for the future generations and so forth, if we're finding ways to continue to open the door for people to be in relationship with nature. And that's why it's so fascinating to me about what draws people into this idea, is that everyone sees like a window of possibility through their own lens, through the people that they're inspired to work with and support, and that essentially becomes your niche in how you start to bring this kind of work forward. But yeah, I see some other posts here. I see one from Brendan. Yeah, and coming up against the limits of talk therapy and wanting to incorporate natural practices. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing, Brendan. Daniel, anything you want to throw in here? Anything you want to add at this moment before we dig into some of the pieces of this call?
Yeah, just a little insight, or as Kyle just said, a little tip. And this is a bit of my personal growth inside of the work we do here of nature connection and personal growth and transformation, and what I'm hearing from some of you guys in the group here around this awareness of the level of connection that you have with nature. And what I've seen is that there's kind of 3 levels, so to speak, of nature connection. The first one being kind of transactional. And you can think about, like people kind of just getting resources from the earth, from the land. It's kind of like just taking from the earth, or it's even just kind of like, being on the land, but not really connected with it. And the second piece is what I'm hearing you guys kind of talking about a little bit from Blake and Kyle and Brendan as well. And it's getting into like this kind of therapeutic experience of nature, like, the forest bathing. How can this be, my connection with nature be therapeutic? And that was a big space and chapter of my life. Was my time in nature was a massive therapeutic experience for some of the trauma and loss that I experienced earlier in life. And what Michael's going to get into here a little bit with you guys, and what we really like to focus on here at Earth-Based Institute, is this third level, and that is having a transformational relationship with nature, and going and just not just be into like a therapeutic experience, but like you are growing, changing, connecting, diving deeper into your vision and your essence through your connection with nature, and you're giving to nature, and nature is giving back with you, and you're in that two-way channel of energy and connection. And so and that's what I'm hearing you guys kind of saying, is like, man, like we need like this kind of experience, and like there's so much value in connecting with nature on that level, and so many people don't know how to take it down to that. And so just want to kind of put that in here as a little foreshadowing what Michael's going to start to kind of share with you around these roots of nature connection that we really focus on here, and how it can really support you on a personal and professional level. So take it away, Michael.
Right on. All right. I'm going to share my screen. So goals for our call today. I want to, dig into this idea of what the roots of nature connected coaching are. I was trying to think about how to really name this, and really what it comes down to is being in this being in a collaborative relationship with nature, as a professional, as a guide, as a listener, as someone who supports another person. How do we do that in a collaborative relationship with nature? And there are some core elements to that are essential from my perspective of how we get into that co-created, co-guiding relationship with nature, where it's not just this place that it's not like you're just sitting under the tree doing coaching, right? There's a big difference between that and nature connected coaching, which is the tree is now part of that coaching experience. It's now part of the conversation and that individual's process. Okay. This opens up this incredible dynamic where everything has meaning. Everything is important in that moment. And it's a really special relationship to be in with your client and with nature. And that's like what we strive for in nature connected coaching, is to be in that place, as often as we possibly can, where we're being informed by, that this dynamic is part of what is informing us in our listening and our questioning and the choices that we make with our client. Very much in the here and now, very much in the moment with our clients. So I gotta change my screen here. All right, we talked about that a little bit. So here, there's a lot to it, but I tried to simplify it down into kind of three main pillars or roots here. Okay. First is deep nature connection. I'm going to talk about what that means to me and so forth. Second is this idea of coaching, and I'm referring specifically to professional coaching. You know, anybody can call themselves a coach, okay? But there's a difference between being a professional coach, working professionally as a coach, and what does that mean? And just kind of calling yourself a coach. And then this idea of soul direction. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more as well. So, you know, just really quick to say, you know, my background is it's in nature, wilderness survival. It's in awareness skills, nature awareness skills, and tracking skills. I've spent the last 25 years studying those skills in particular and bringing them into the work that I do. And I have a master's degree in adventure education, where my focus has been on, or was on, consciousness transformation, you know, the changes that we go through adventure experiences in nature. And I was part of the original instruction staff that put together the master's degree in wilderness therapy for a local university here called Naropa University. And so I was part of that original team that put that together. And I started to realize that I was thinking about wilderness therapy, or the therapeutic aspects of nature, in a very different way. And for me, what we're talking about here in regards to nature connected coaching is not clinical. It's not focused on diagnosis, and it's not focused on treatment. It's focused on strengths and personal growth and personal change. And not that clinical therapy isn't that way, but it's a different approach. And so I started to realize that I was talking about something a little bit different. Not that one is better than the other, but something different. So I started to move out of that world. And that's what really, you know, where things kicked off for me in regards to Earth-Based Institute. I just wanted to give that context. I've been a professional coach since 2004. I've got over 10,000 hours of coaching face-to-face with clients. Most of that has been out in the wilderness, outdoors. And I've been a rites of passage guide, wilderness quest guide, adventure guide for years as well. So just kind of giving that context here. So with deep nature awareness, there's some pieces here that we strive for. And one is this idea of a trust in nature, right? And, you know, like I always kind of come back to the simplicity of this concept of Mother Nature and how powerful that is. Mother Nature, what that implies. And this trust that nature will provide. I mean, can you imagine, you know, giving yourself over to nature in that way, that nature will provide? That's one of the main like gifts of studying the survival skills, wilderness survival skills, has been that, you know, nature will provide. And not from this place of like take, but from a place of relationship, from a place of need. And as a nature connected coach, trusting that nature will also provide for your clients' insights. And that becomes a real game changer when you're working with somebody out on the land. If you're approaching your work with your client from the perspective that you have to do it all, that it's your job to make all those connections, that it's your job to find all of those details, you're not giving space for nature to do the work. You're not giving space to that relationship. In order to do that, you have to trust. It can be a huge step. Certainly when someone's paying you money and you're feeling like, okay, I got to perform, I got to deliver, right? So trust is a huge part of this deep nature connection. But nature awareness practices leads us into this place of being able to really tune into the language of nature. Is almost as if nature, which I don't want to even say as almost, to where nature is communicating with us. And it's always communicating, you're always tuned in through your senses. There is a part of you that is so much more aware of your surroundings right now in this moment than you can comprehend. You are always tuning in to your environment, day and night, sleeping, not sleeping. You're always tuning in. Just think about this for a moment. Just because you aren't listening to the sounds outside of your house consciously right now because you're focusing on what I'm saying, that doesn't mean you're not hearing what's going on outside. You just aren't choosing to hear it. Okay, so with nature awareness skills, we're practicing breaking down what we call things like the wall of sound, where it's just a big drone of sound outside. But instead being able to hear the details within. Or another line that I love that one of my mentors brought up at one point was the wall of green. Most people, when they step outside, they just see, oh, it's just green, but they're not seeing the details within it. What starts to happen when you acknowledge the complexity, the magnitude of everything that's there? You can only do so much, right? But you can begin to realize what you are already tuning into and what you are already seeing. One of the skills of nature awareness is something that we practice called wide angle vision, where it brings you right into like an alpha state, right into a deep connected state. It's powerful stuff. But what you're doing is you're looking out of the periphery of your eyes more than into a tunneled vision. So a wide angle vision is like, a wide angle mind, as opposed to a tunneled focused mind, which there's times where that's good. But a wide angle vision, and there's never a time when you can't be practicing that. Even if you're focused, you can always be remembering to be wide angle vision. But the thing is that aren't your eyes always doing that? It's the choice that you're making to see from a wide angle. But your eyes are always registering all that information. That's where this deep nature connection, when we start to go into our nature awareness skills and begin to tune into the communication that's happening with nature, we've got to get out of our tunnel vision and into an open, receptive state. So that's a huge part of this, and that's really what leads to this collaboration with nature, because this brings us into that place of like flow, like a flow state, where you're making choices based on the moment by moment needs that arise and so forth. And when you bring in the coaching piece, you've got another element to consider, and that's your client's goals. Okay, so this is where these things start to come together now. Now we've got this world of professional coaching where, we're also thinking about and holding these idea of coaching competencies and ethics as a professional coach. So we have some structure around us a little bit, that we can lean into. And I got to say, this was so helpful for me because it helped put a framework around what I was doing. It helped add some legitimacy to this idea of supporting another person to have a deep connection with themselves and with nature and so forth, was having the coaching skills behind that. And, you know, EBI, we're accredited through the International Coach Federation, which is like the APA for coaches, right? APA is the overseeing board for psychologists and therapists and so forth. For coaches, we've got the ICF, okay, the International Coach Federation. And what is amazing about that is that when you meet those requirements, and those requirements to get your credential with the ICF is significant. It's not just like, oh, I did, 10 hours online, now I'm a coach. There's a lot to it. There's hours of supervision and so forth that's involved, which we include all of that into our training program. But you then get an international credential, and that's huge. I mean, many people who are in the psychotherapy world are limited to their state licensures, and they'll look to things like coaching to be able to get a credential that allows them to work more expansively and globally, which is pretty amazing when you think about the potential for that in developing your business. But just some ideas here around the coaching skills is that, where we blend in nature into this is through what we call deep listening, where our connection to nature also informs and helps us listen deeply to our clients, because our clients are nature, right? I mean, your nature is everywhere, even if you're on Zoom, right? So listening deeply, like we listen to nature, we listen to our clients. And with professional coaching, like I said, we're following different we're not following, but we're considering these competencies of coaching, which are fantastic. When you see them, you'll be like, wow, like that's amazing that's held within this context. And then of course the ethical side of things, which just really anchors and grounds us. But I want to share just some really powerful questions that we call the sacred questions that you could start to think about in your own life, and you can bring to anybody in any context. And certainly if you're out on the land with someone, it's just very powerful. So the sacred questions are a series of questions that guide you deeper and deeper into self-discovery based on what is arising right now in the moment. So the first question on that is a real simple question, opens the door for discovery, which is, what did you notice, or what are you noticing if you're doing actively with somebody? Like I'm imagining walking with my kids. I got 2 boys also. And I'm walking with my boys, and we're hearing all these bird alarms going on. I might ask the question, what are you noticing? Right? And that's an easy question where they can actually feel pretty empowered around being able to answer that. They can start listing things off. But then the next question was, what does that teach you? Right? Or you can frame that however you want. What does that mean to you? Right? So here's what I'm noticing. I'm noticing all these different sounds or colors or feelings or whatever. But what does that show? What does that mean to you? What is that teaching you? So now they're taking it down a notch, and they have to stretch a little bit. But think about this. If they're making those connections through their experience of being in the moment, engaging with their environment, now they're starting to make meaning based on their relationship to nature. Okay, so now the next question is to go even deeper. What does that show you? What does that mean to you? So you're going further and further down. First is taking a very wide understanding of what am I noticing, bringing it into like, what is this teaching me? And what does that lesson then mean to me or show me? And that's where your client or yourself, that's where you're going to have to dig deep and really start to activate some meaning making that goes a little bit deeper than just the logical. But if you can think about from that perspective as a facilitator, what opens up for you there, it's huge. The window that gets opened up in regards to the processing that can start to happen from that point. What ideas might arise in regards to how you can support your client to transform through what they've just discovered about themselves. So, it's one thing to just talk about this, right? But I want to really encourage you to take those questions. And you could even, after this call, you could even say, what did I notice from the call, reviewing the call? What did I notice? What were the things I noticed? What did I pay attention to when I was in this call with Michael and Daniel and this other group of guys? And what does that teach me? Or what does that show me? And then what does that mean to me? What do I want to do with that? Where am I going to take that? Okay. So moving into this other root or pillar or core aspect of EBI is this idea of soul direction. And, one of my mentors used to say this line all the time, living a soul-directed life. And doesn't that sound wonderful? Right? I mean, in many ways, that is what draws people into looking for a coach, looking for a therapist, looking for a guide, wanting to feel like they are living a life that is aligned with their truth, right? They're making decisions that are soul-directed. And so, one of the things that we really focus on here is establishing that connection with self, with what we call soul, which, and everyone has their own language for this, but we use the word soul. And, I'm not attached to that. It's really what works for you. But it's that deep centered knowing inside of you. It's that place, that voice inside of you that is non-reactive and non-judgmental towards yourself, towards others. It's connected and it knows. And it's connected to vision. It's spiritually connected to the bigger pictures of your life, your purpose. But it's also very much connected to the here and now and your experience in life right now. It's like a translator between the two. And it's a really powerful place to guide from, to listen from, to support your clients from, and to make decisions from. So, one of the things that we often think about is the more that you're working towards understanding and staying connected to that place inside of you, the more you're going to be able to support your clients to do that for themselves. Because this work of nature connected coaching is transformational. And so as a guide yourself, you've got to be on a transformational journey of your own mastery. And that's a huge commitment. And you're going to face stuff in your life. You're going to go through healing while you're working with your clients. But nature does that. You guys, many of you have already mentioned that. And nature opens that door for healing. So the more you're working on your stuff, the better you're going to be at stepping into that relationship with your clients. And really I think one of the most powerful questions you can ask yourself that brings you into that place of soul connection is, what am I feeling? And it's not how am I feeling, but what am I feeling? And you got to dig deep for that. You got to get beneath, because right now, if I ask that question, your mind is going to go, well, here's all the things I'm feeling. Give you like 30 answers right away, really quick. But you got to go deep into place of silence first. Get beneath the busy, active waters of the mind, so to speak, and get down into stillness. To listen to your body. What is your body showing you about this moment, about what you're feeling? What are the sensations? Because it's sensations first, and then your mind goes into interpretation. Okay, so that's one of the most powerful questions I think you could be asking yourself, to be tapping in to that soul connection, soul direction. What am I feeling? All right. So I want to share just a video here of one of our graduates, Maria. This is just a short video. And Maria has gone through like everything that EBI has to offer. She's gone through all of our trainings and quests and all of these things on her journey of kind of recreating herself from, working in an industry of international development and so forth that just really wasn't aligning with her soul, to doing something absolutely amazing, which I'm going to let her tell you, and then we can just talk about it for a little bit afterwards. But I'm going to go ahead and hit play on this video here. And if you can't hear, like, do that so I can make sure that I've got the settings right. Okay. Tell me about your current work. What are you doing?
I am working with several individual clients and doing a lot of the work out in nature. What I call, land experiences, where we actually have our sessions out in nature. And doing a combination of virtual as well as coaching out on the land for individuals. I've also started guiding pilgrimage. And yeah, and it's, just kind of this beautiful coming together of a lot of different things that really resonate for me, and also aligning with my own lineage. So I'm half Spanish and half Ecuadorian. Before I even started EBI, I had the opportunity to go and walk the Camino de Santiago, which is a very, ancient pilgrimage route that goes across the northern part of Spain. After going through the EBI program and getting my transformational wilderness guiding certificate, and going through that part of the program, and leaning into and learning more about rites of passage work. And so last fall, I had the opportunity to guide 10 pilgrims along the Camino. And then this year we have another 10 pilgrims that we're guiding. And then 2024, we're planning on doing 2 different pilgrimages. So in 2024.
And now you had mentioned to me something about this starting to run pilgrimage is in the US too, right? Like, what, tell me.
Yeah. So it's
been there. Yeah. What's the vision?
I had done work prior to starting EBI with the Sand Creek Regional Greenway, which is a 14-mile trail that goes through Denver. And it goes from Commerce City through Denver and over to Aurora. It's a very urban experience, but you're also seeing the resiliency of nature. And so we're putting together right now a program. We're calling it the Camino de Sand Creek.
Oh my God, I love it.
Similar to, you know, what I'm doing with the Camino is we're going to have some group. We're creating a cohort of women who, and this is going to be a bilingual program, so both English and Spanish. And so it's going to be a program for women who are in some kind of a place of transition in their life, desiring personal growth, but also, you know, wanting this physical challenge, which so much of Rite of Passage includes a physical challenge. And so we will culminate, you know, this experience with that 14-mile walk in one day. But we'll have, you know, 4 different kind of segment walks prior to that, as well as 4 group calls. And again, supporting the different aspects of the ceremony, supporting severance, supporting threshold, and then 2 calls again on the back end for integration and incorporation.
So I wanted to just share that because it's just such a great example of, I think, what's possible with this idea of nature connected coaching. And Maria, I had like a 40-minute conversation with her, and I edited it down to about 30 minutes. Maybe a little bit longer, 35 minutes or so. And I've got that for you. I'll share that link with you in a minute here. But if you want to watch her whole thing, but I just think it's such a great example of what's possible with this work of nature connected coaching. You'll hear, how she had an idea of this, but didn't really know how this was going to unfold. And how these things started to come together with her, I think, is pretty amazing. But, hopefully that kind of like gives you some ideas of where, sparks some ideas for you in regards to what's calling you with this kind of work. So one of the things that I've put together here is a free workshop that is called Unlock the Wisdom in Nature. And this is one of the things that folks who I've been emailing the last couple of days, you guys missed due to all this email disaster that we were having. And so I want to invite you into this if you'd like to. And I'll drop the link in here for it. I'm starting it tomorrow, but you guys can jump into it today if you want to. Let me get this. And it's a 4-part video series. And I'll just put that right into the chat. And really, the goal around this, pretty simple. The goal around it is how do you create a transformational experience in nature? What are some of the things to think about? And this is something, my hope is that this is something that you can take and apply right away to the people that you're working with or to yourself, okay? So, something that you can apply and grasp these concepts very quickly, gives you a great experience of guiding nature connected experiences. And there's different cheat sheets and so forth that are connected with that you can download. And this is part of something that's a bigger process here, right? So I'm trying to find bridges and gateways for people to work their way into this world of nature connected coaching. And so after that, the next step for you would be to get into this introduction to nature connected coaching. And that registration is going to be opening up at the end of the month. And you know, I'll share that information with you as well. But this is a bigger program that's got quite a bit involved in it. And really the goal with this is that you really begin to sink your teeth into this idea of nature connected coaching and begin to figure out, you know, how are you going to be applying this in the work that you want to be doing, developing your own practice, getting the business coaching and so forth along the way for that. So Introduction to Nature Connected Coaching, I'll share more with it about that with you towards the end of the month. But that's it. That's what I've got for you here today. And I'm going to go ahead and stop my share. And Daniel, anything else you want to add into this at the end?
I just open up. Are there any questions from you guys after this 60 minutes of deep connection with us?
The fire hose, as some of my students like to say. Fire hose style teaching.
And even like what takeaways, like, you know, what maybe some things Michael said that really kind of like you heard it like, oh man, like that really, you know, kind of struck a chord for me inside. I'd just love to kind of hear that from you guys, because you know, it's our intention and our vision here at Earth-Based Institute to you know, have a very, you know, be in community and be in communication and connection with each other. And like, we don't want to just be like, you know, fire hosing to you guys. We want to hear from you as well.
Yeah, I'll share something that really resonated. Right when you invited us to share at the beginning of the call, it occurred to me that I'd experienced my relationship in 3 stages. And then Daniel, you proceeded 10 minutes later to basically say the same thing. And I had a little bit different language for it, but you know, as you went on to describe it, you're describing the exact same thing. So what the language that was occurring to me was that I experienced nature first as a consumer, then in a healing capacity, and then in communion was the 3rd stage. And your words were transactional, therapeutic, and transformational. But conceptually, you were speaking of the exact same thing that was already running through my mind before you offered it. So just that serendipity and that resonance was really, really meaningful to me.
Right on.
That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, Howard. And that's as you're sharing, the word that came to mind as you're sharing is what you just said there. I was like, we were in resonance there and on the same wavelength. So it's awesome. Love to hear it.
I'll just add to this piece here too, Brendan. Just yeah, we, you know, there isn't a student that goes through EBI that doesn't want to generate their own business doing this. So our business really is around helping you get your business going. That's a huge part of it. So you know, we take that from 0 to 100, really, you know, idea origination, and then all the way into the development of that practice and helping you generate clients and learning the entrepreneurial skills around what that means. We start that in the intro course too. But it, you know, in the full certification, there's quite a bit of that, so just a ton of it. But it's a part of that intro course as well.
And we do our best here to really wrap around our students and you know, members of our community that are proactively putting their vision into reality and like supporting you on making that happen, and the marketing skills. And I wouldn't say just like getting clients, but attracting your ideal clients and the people that you are here to serve, and really being clear on that on your end too, of like, who am I called to serve? Who am I really wanting to, you know, show up with an impact in a powerful way through this work? And so this is something where we do everything we can on our end to support, nurture, coach, guide our students to being successful in working with the right people they want to work with, and bringing the support and impact that they want to bring to the world.
I will send out the recording of this video as well. You've got the registration page to get into that free course. And on that registration page is also the full testimonial or case study of Maria too, if you want to watch that video. And I really appreciate you all being here and hanging through the whole call. And if you guys need anything, you have any questions or anything comes up and after this, please don't hesitate to reach out.